Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good evening. Anyways, one more time back to India. India. A court rules, that's June 9th, 2023. An Indian court rules that Catholics can sue their diocese, meaning their bishop, over the language used in the Mass. So now Catholic can sue their diocese for the language used in the Mass. Oh, I don't like it in Hindi. I want it in whatever. I don't like it in that language. And this is another fruit of the, uh, uh, using the very words of Pope Paul VI, the liturgical innovation of the new rite, in which the abandonment of the liturgical language of the Western Church being Latin, um, and these are the mainly in Latin right Catholics in India, because you could tell from the bishop there standing, um, and introducing the vernacular. It might work fine in the United States or in Canada. It's kind of basically one language, English. But even that, we had the horrible translations. Not to mention the actual uh, watered down fake liturgy of Paul VI, of Annibale Bonini, whom he installed to create it out of thin air with the assistance of Protestant ministers who reject the Catholic notions of sacrifice and priesthood. Well, that's beside the point. And of course, not to mention the huge, lot of, like in India, there's a lot of different languages. Um, in Africa, even in the single country, you have all the different tribes with their own various languages and even slightly different cultures. So you are creating, instead of unity around the Eucharist and around the table of the Lord, as they say, you are creating division among languages, division among people, division among tribes, a division among languages, a division among cultures, and that's all for the in the name of inculturation. You creating division after Vatican II with the introduction of the vernacular, and every uh, little tribe and little village wanting their own language, even their own bishop of their own tribe to be installed, like happened in Africa. You have created division in the church instead of unity. Fruits of Vatican II and the and the liturgical renewal and the new ecclesiology. And so let's go through this quickly. So in Mumbai, a state court in southwestern India has ruled that lay Catholics can sue their local diocese over its refusal to offer mass and other forms of public worship of I can't even see here, of prayer and worship in the local language of Konkani, or however you say it. So yeah, you can sue the church for not offering the mass in the local language of Konkani. The High Court in the state of Karnataka declared May 26 that civil courts have jurisdiction to hear the case in which the plaintiffs are demanding, so the Catholic faithful are demanding that basically the Mass on Sunday and other feast days be offered in this Konkaki language, the language spoken, I guess, by 2 million people in along India's western coast. So again, now we're, again, as I said, division. So instead of actually, uh, having a liturgical language which nobody possesses, so in the Latin West would be the Latin language. So you have the Latin and Konkaki, or whatever it's called, the Latin language and Hindi, Latin language and whatever, French, Latin language and Filipino, Latin language and Arabic, Latin language. So uh, and in the East, you'd have maybe the liturgical language of Old Slavonic or the Old Greek, or in the Middle East, they have actually even the Copts, again, they have the Coptic language, but they do celebrate their liturgy in Arabic too. But Arabic actually is actually a dead language. Arabic is a dead language as it is written, as it is in the books. It's not completely different than the spoken Arabic of Egypt. Like a lot of jokes happen. Like if somebody start talking to them in official Arabic language, like, can you just speak Arabic, please? Because I don't understand what you're saying. So, in a sense, even the Arabic language is a dead language as it is written in the books. So, anyways, the Konkani is one of 22 languages recognized in the Indian constitution. So, I guess you have to have in India 22 different languages of the mass in the different in areas. So here you go. Create more liturgical books, more printing, more fight, going against the environment and not being green by having to print so many different versions with all the 22 different languages in a single country. We're not talking even about the Amazon, where they're even in the Amazonian Synod. They're talking about, again, creating in a whole bunch of different languages of the various Amazonian languages, again, creating division instead of unity among Catholics, among Christians. So it is this Konkani is one of 22 languages recognized in the Indian Constitution, and it's the official language of the state of Goa. The lawsuit is being brought by 4 lay Catholics in the city of, I cannot pronounce that word, located in Karnataka, against the diocese of, again, that word, Chikamagaluru. Chikamagaluru. Anyways, the diocese has opposed the suit, arguing that such matters should be governed by the Catholic Church's own internal code of canon law. It insists that the plaintiffs have not been barred from worship, but they can't just insist on praying in any particular language. Why not, Church? Why not? Didn't you introduce the vernacular? Aren't you open to inculturation? This is our language. Why are you forbidding us to worship in our language? You open this can of worms, and that's what you get, a bunch of worms. Um, uh, Anyways, and it says the use of language worship is a ritual question rather than a matter of civil. So the church is saying, this is a ritual question, not a matter of civil law, civil. But and the court in India said, no, you know what? Article this and article that in the constitution, it's these are languages protected by the law of India. Therefore, you must, we have supremacy over the church in telling the church what languages to celebrate the liturgy in. Would they do that to actually Hindus in celebrating in Sanskrit, or Sikhs in their own sacred languages? I doubt it. I doubt it very much. I'm not actually sure if the Sikhs have their own sacred language for worship or not. Or the Jews, would they insist that the Jews stop praying in Hebrew and pray in their local languages? I don't think that would happen, because the Jews know, when we pray in the synagogue, we are praying in Hebrew. It's a given. There is no question about it. But the church, after Vatican II and the liturgical renewal, opened up a can of worms, which have bored themselves into the apple and have caused division amongst Catholics worldwide. Thank you, Paul VI. Thank you, Bugnini. The Karnataka High Court found, however, that the issue of conducting a prayer in the Konkani language in church order, comes under the control of in a church under the control of the diocese, cannot be regarded as simply a matter of ritual, and that the church, the archdiocese, meaning really the church, is bound by the law of the land. Therefore, it's a civil judge can hear the case and rule however they wanted to rule. Anyways, and they say this law actually surpasses any usage or custom. So if somebody, technically now speaking, if there's a small Jewish community in India, and they come and demanding that their rabbis stop praying in Hebrew and start praying in Hindi, then I guess the court can go and intervene. But of course, that probably won't happen. Um, so the dispute over language started in 2006 when the bishop at the time asked parishes to use the state's official Kannada language for liturgical purposes, including during the celebration of the Mass. So I guess the bishop said, well, the state language is this, so let's change everything to the state language. He's being such a statist. He's following the state. So see, this is kind of, again, instead of the church being beyond the state, it is universal. No, it's now, the state language is this, therefore our liturgy will be in the state language. But apparently a lot of the people in the state don't speak that language, from what it seems like. Anyways, it says here, so anyways, some of these people went to the state court to force the bishop to go back and celebrate it in their language. So the bishop defended the decision to use the state's official language in the public worship of the diocese, as per, and here's the bishop's quote, as per the church. We need to follow the local language. Where is the law in that? Can you give me the canon, especially the ancient canons? Any tradition based upon that? There is no tradition. It's a total novelty. As per the church, we need to follow the local language of the state. Who says, where is this? Show me. So the more people would be able to understand and participate in services such as the Mass, Bible courses, conventions, and so on, so that the people of all faiths may know the teachings of Jesus, Swami said. Okay, now he conflates two things here. Yes, we need to preach the gospel to all people of all faiths so they will know the teachings of Jesus. But people, Hindus and Muslims and animists and whatever else is there in India, don't need to be at the liturgy in the Mass. Traditionally, actually, if you're going to apostolic tradition, that's where the porters were, and catechumens. Because if you weren't catechumen, you were not even allowed in the church. That's the function of the porters who had the keys. And only when you're a catechumen, you stayed until the sermon. And after the sermon, you were ushered out, and the rest of the liturgy was for the faithful only. So yeah, you can reach the people of all faiths with your local languages. That's fine and dandy. Go ahead, do it. Do what is true evangelization. But of course, you will be condemned by Francis the Humble of Rome because he will call it proselytism. But anyways, go ahead and follow Jesus instead of Francis of Rome. Again, Bible courses, fine. Speak that in your languages. Conventions, speak it in your local languages or the official language, whatever people will understand. That's fine. Go ahead. But when it comes to the Mass, this is a liturgical service. Has nothing. People go with, again, they change the language, so they have no standard to stand on. If they're going to say we're going to go back to the Latin language for all of the Roman Rite Church in India, and then you can have your own language on the side, like in a missal, side by side. Okay, I would support that. But again, they're standing on one language over another language, so you have no basis for that. The church desires that all should know the good news of Jesus. If we cannot reach non-Christians, okay, fine. What does this have to do with the liturgy? What does this have to do with the Mass itself? Go reach non-Christians all you want with their own local languages and dialects and whatever, accents, with the good news. Choose a local language. They don't have to be at Mass. They cannot actually be allowed to come into Mass. Only then will everyone understand the teachings. The church should become the local church. No, the church is the universal church of Jesus Christ. Yes, it is. So if you read the Apostolic Fathers, which I always encourage people to read, you can go online and find the various, like St. Ignatius of Antioch, St. Clement of Rome, St. Polycarp of Smyrna, the Shepherd of Hermes, the Didache. So you read them, And you will always, these were the earliest writings after the New Testament. Some of the writings in them are actually older than the New Testament itself, like the Didache in it, the teaching of the 12 apostles. And in it, for example, you look at most of the writings, especially St. Ignatius of Antioch, which is the successor of St. Peter. He's writing to the various churches on his way to be martyred in Rome. He talks about the Catholic Church or the Church of Christ or the Catholic Church in Rome, the Church of Christ or the Catholic Church in Carthage, the Church of Christ in so and so. It is not the Roman Church or the Carthaginian or the Church of Carthage or the Church of Smyrna. No, it is the church in Smyrna, not of Smyrna. So being this local church is a kind of in a wrong way being taken these days. So now you're going to have, that's why you have division. Okay, local church here, local church here. We speak in this language. You guys have this language. We have these customs. You have this custom. We celebrate facing east. You celebrate facing the people. We have women altar server. We don't have a okay, division, division, division. This is not universality. This is not Catholicism, which means universal. Anyways, and that so it says the church should become a local church in the sense that whatever state we are in, the state language should take prominence. So you're being a subservient to the state. Well, the people in that state, apparently 2 million of them, don't speak that language. But you created the precedent of local languages, division, inculturation. So if I don't get the mass in the language I like, you are discriminating against me. You know what? What's the saying is how does it go? I mean, you brought it upon yourselves. So enjoy. That's it. That's all. See you next time.